Hello and welcome, Exiles. Today I want to talk about my Molten Strike Deadeye. Now, part of my enjoyment for this game is always trying something new, trying something different. And the big thing I wanted to experiment with was the Wildfire Jewel in combination with the Deadeye Chain Ascendancy. I wanted to see if I could go Deadeye Chain, can I get the Molten Strike projectile to hit not once, not twice, but 3 times if it goes bounce, bounce, bounce. Now the theory was, if I get enough reduced projectile speed from the nodes here, adjacent animosity, and from the less projectile speed here, and from slower proj, in combination with conk effect, can we make these projectiles basically go nowhere, so that way the chain ends up being a damage multiplier instead of a clear multiplier from this this threshold jewel. So I'm going to give you a showcase real quick, what it looks like, and why this thing that I thought would be kind of cool is actually not really going to work like I was hoping it would. And you can see that the balls don't bounce slow enough. They still bounce far enough away that although sometimes I can RNG into the Molten Strike balls bouncing close and hitting multiple times, most of the time I'm only getting like 1 hit out, maybe 2 hits, and pretty much never 3 hits unless I get extremely lucky, which basically means my plan for Deadeye, although I had high hopes for it, is kind of a flop. The upside of this is we have a good backup, and that backup is going to be a Raider Ascendancy switch. This is going to net us Onslaught in exchange for Tailwind. Technically, I could recraft boots for Tailwind, but I don't really want to recraft my boots. It's going to mean we have 50% avoidance chance, which is meaning these boots, which have elemental ailment avoids, no longer have to be rolled with elemental ailment avoids. That's basically a dead useless stat, and it means the boots are now way cheaper to make, so the build's more affordable. It also means we get 40% spell suppress, which means this chest piece, which has spell suppress, we don't need this 30% spell suppress roll, which makes, again, the build more affordable. So I'm happy about the switch because it's making the build more achievable. And now I want to go into the rest of the details about the build. So my idea was to stack a lot of speed. And part of stacking speed, I decided to go with Badge of the Brotherhood, stack some power charges for elusive effect, which nets us some movement speed, along with netting us a decent amount of frenzy charges. That, in combination with Avatar of Slaughter, I was stealing the frenzy charge, movement speed, attack speed, evasion speed node, gives us quite a bit of speed, and it gives us some nice damage scaling. I thought it was a nifty little thing to do. The jewels were about 2x a pop. They weren't too expensive. I was like, yeah, let's go with that. So stacking some power charges, stacking some frenzies, and we're having a nice little, basically a good time with that. The other things we did is we did basically our fake mage blood, and that's with a micro distillery belt. Now, I made a video about this. The moral of the story is we're getting close to double our flask effect. These ruby, sapphire, topaz, and our quicksilver are basically about double effect. They're a little bit under, and it allows us to basically get curse immune. It allows us to get basically our mana cost is free. When I press this flask, we don't even have a mana problem at all. It allows us to get giga res if I have all 3 of these activated, which I have them permanently on uptime. I have 100 free res. We're going to put melding in the build. It's not even going to be hard. We have so much free res. There's res on my gear that I just don't need. This 40 cold res roll here really doesn't need to even be on this helmet. There's multiple pieces of gear where I have extra res that I don't need. It makes the gearing pretty, like, a lot more free. And one thing I would say, if you're going to craft one of these belts, if the magic utility flask effect, it gets too expensive, just go for T1 flask effect. That can just naturally roll on a belt. That'll be a super common base to drop, and you're only going to lose about 10% effect on the belts, and you're still going to be able to make a pretty good belt with it, I would say. So our res is covered. We're going to fit melding into the build. I'm going to drop this portion of the tree most likely and pick up some other better stuff like Forces of Nature, like Revenge of the Hunted. There's going to be some quality of life upgrades I'm pretty excited about, and before we do that, though, I'll give you a quick showcase of what the character looks like. Currently, I'm a little bit bricked for clear because my gem colors I messed up when I tried to harvest recolor to get... Moral stories, I messed up my colors and I don't have Ancestral Call, and instead I have Conk Effect right now in my what would be my clear setup, so it's a little bit bad for clear, but I'm going to showcase it like this. I'm going to showcase the setup like this anyways, just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. I will probably consider dropping evasion rating on this suffix for avoid stun to be stun immune, curse immune, reflect immune if we go for awakened elemental damage with attacks. I think there's just a lot of quality of life we can get And then on top of that, we're going to be moving at 200 to 300% movement speed. My goal for this build is ultimately a very tanky character, which has a lot of speed and hopefully some significant damage. So this is what it looks like. We start getting elusive effect, we start getting our frenzy charges, and then everything picks up. Obviously, we need to actually get frenzy charges, so hopefully I can attack an enemy and generate them. Okay, here we go. We're getting some frenzy charges in the character now. So when we actually have frenzy charges and we're moving around, we move around like this. It's a very fast character. We can just zoom around to each bag, zoom around to the things we're picking up. We also have inspired learning in the build right now, which didn't have much opportunity cost. It came with basically a lot of notables and shadow we were going to be picking up anyways. So it feels very good in that regard. Now keep in mind, we're also going to be dropping Conk Effect. I'm probably going to be dropping Slower Proj because we're not doing the chain memes anymore. And the clear that you see here is going to be massively, massively better. And I'm pretty excited about that. So, moral story is there's a lot of improvements we're going to make. We're going to get Melding in the Flesh. I'm probably going to end up getting close to 90 max all-res on this character, along with the 40% less elemental damage taken and spell suppress. Moral of the story is we're going to be pretty much immortal to elemental damage, whether it's a spell or attack, because we're at... How much evasion is this character at? This character is at 50,000 evasion right now. It's going to go to even higher evasion because we are going to pick up Raider. Raider comes with % evasion on it and 10% more chance to evade with, what's the word? While during Onslaught or whatever. The character's cost right now, we're looking at about a 10x Claw and a Power Charge helmet, which from my experience, I looked on the average cost of Screaming Essence of Greed to get a Power Charge on the helmet, and you're going to look at around 250 Screaming Essences of Greed on a Warlord base. For me, I got really unlucky and it took like 700, and so it ended up being closer to like 7 or 8x for the helmet when it should have been close to like 3 or 4. And then the body armor is a matter of combining a gain life as ES chest with a Guatsalides gain life. It's not too expensive if you just go for those two mods and you don't worry about getting spell suppression on the suffix. What other thing should I say? You okay, little guy? 1 second, I'm gonna help Lance. Here you go. Oh. Okay. As I was saying, I have big improvements for the character that I'm really excited about. I don't know if I've really done a good advocation for this character. The one weakness this character is going to have is going to be physical damage. This is going to be a similar defensive layer setup to the Trickster I had, where I have crazy evasion, I have spell suppress, and for physical damage, if it's a spell, we reduce it by 50%, and for the most part, that means spells aren't too bad. And if it's an attack, we evade it 9 times out of 10, which means if they don't kill us in one hit, they don't kill us, because we are hitting so many times a second with Molten Strike that our life gain on hit is kind of like Valpact when it used to be instant leech, so to speak. So I think the character's going to feel pretty good. We're going to get close to 5.5k life, I would guess, and like 1k energy shield, which means they have to hit us for Fizz for 6.5k, and the only attacks that are doing that are the slow boss attacks from like a Shaper Slam or something. And when you have a character that moves at 200% movement speed, it's not a hard attack to dodge at all. And so that's kind of the moral of the story of where we're going with this character, what it's going to look like. Hopefully this character is something you might be excited about. I'm excited about it, especially because I don't have a great track record with making attack skills good. Attack skills I've always had a harder time building than I have spell skills. You want me to do the woof woof button? Yeah, you like that one. All right, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, Exiles.